Hello and welcome to another video. Today I'm playing Pokémon Scarlet, but with a twist. I am going to complete the game, beating every single gym, Elite Four, and the champion with just a Fire-type team, as if I am a Fire-type gym leader. I'm allowed to use any Pokemon that have a Fire-type as their primary or secondary typing, but not as a Tera type, unless one of their main two types is a Fire type. This challenge is obviously in the new game Pokémon Scarlet, and I will say that this game has been very buggy and very glitchy, so if you see any of that throughout the video, I apologise. Let's get started. With the rules done and out the way, who better than to do the run with than my favourite Fire-type gym leader of all time, Flannery from the Hoenn region. So all that was left was to create the character, giving the iconic red hair and red eyes. I mean, the red hair isn't exactly a match, but what else can you do? And then get into the game. First things first is picking our Fire-type boy Coco, who's going to carry us throughout most of this run, before going down to the beach to absolutely destroy Nemona. Make some bacon with Lechonk, because we can't catch him in the tutorial, and then do some story before heading up to the lighthouse to deal with Mr. Mummy Issues himself, Arven, and his squadron. After that we have to get through the next town, do some more tutorials before beating Nemona again, and finally we can go to school. And when we're actually at school, they tell you, actually no, you don't have to go to school anymore, you can go on a treasure hunt now. So we leave to go and be the Fire-type gym leader we were destined to be. First up, we have to score this incredible goal with an olive before getting to fight the bug baker here, Katie, who we can defeat very easily with just Coco. No other additions needed in the team. Absolutely destroyed her. On to the next. After our resounding victory against the bug-type gym leader, we have some leveling up to do. With Coco, we get evolved into Crocodile using XP candies from Terra raids before we decide to head south and try and catch a Fletchinder. We have to catch Fletchinder rather than Fletchling, because Fletchling is only flying type and not fire flying, which is kind of annoying, but it's what we've got to do. On the way there, we also discover a Houndour, which we pick up and catch to add 2 new Pokemon to our team, before we decide to initially dip into the Eastern Territory to find a Charcadet to add to the team as well. We catch that with ease, and then go a bit indecisive here. So instead of continuing east to the Grass-type gym, I think let's go west. Defeat Bombardier to get an upgrade for Koraidon, before then heading towards the Water-type gym and picking up a Numel that will be useful for the Electric-type gym later. Catching that, we then have the only non-optional Team Star encounter of the game, which allows us to now meet Clive and his wonderful haircut. I've definitely never seen this guy before in the game. And then that allows us to beat Giacomo and unlock the route to the Water-type gym town Karascaffa, which we then get the Pokemon Center for so that we can fly back there later. We then go indecisive again and head back east, this time to get the second Titan, Cloth, before heading over to the Grass-type gym to finally get round to defeating that. After this gym leader decides to break his own legs and also appear in front of a child with a whip for some reason, we actually get to defeat him. As you can imagine, being the Grass-type gym, this is pretty trivial, and we absolutely destroy his entire team, including this Sudowoodo with the Grass Terra typing. After our second successful victory and getting 2 gym badges, it was time to scrounge some sandwiches with the boys and try and find that firefighting Tauros you can get in Pokemon Scarlet. And after several hours of searching to no avail, I settled for a Litleo and got out of there, because I couldn't find it for love nor money. In the meantime, whilst I was bored, I decided to upgrade my trainer card with this nice sweet selfie of me in front of Levincia City, before stumbling really into this wonderful coincidence of finding a Growlithe with a ground Terra type, which would be absolutely key for battling the Levincia City gym leader Iono, who uses electric type Pokemon. We then went north towards the steel type sort of area and found ourselves a Carcol and defeated Earthworm Jim to give Koraidon even more Scran and upgrade him even further, before going right back into the center towards the mountain to find Scavillain, who's chilling out just above one of these other towns, using quick ball strats to get him there. Nemona challenged us once again before the electric type gym, but to no avail. We defeated her and her race easily. With Nemona out the way, we could now battle the electric type gym leader Iono in Levincia City. This battle was expected to be a ground type Numel plus Growlithe romp. However, best laid plans did not actually come to fruition. For starters, her first Pokemon Watch was a flying type, so ground type moves do not affect it. So we had to bring in Carcol, which is the whole reason I went and caught it, to use rock type moves to take it out in one hit. The problems really started, however, when Bellibolt came out. Bellibolt, I thought, would be a nice easy bulldoze for Numel to take out. However, the Pokemon knows Water Gun, and that completely wiped out most of our team before we were able to eventually bring it down using a combination of Growlithe's Dig and other fire type moves to just get us through. After defeating the first raid boss of the run, we could use Growlithe and Terrestrialize him to be able to defeat Luxio before moving on to her ace, Mismagius, who once again will not be hit by ground type moves due to Levitate, but is terrestrialized to be an ice type. Numel unfortunately therefore took quite a bit of damage before we were finally able to swap in Crocodile to deal the winning blow to Mismagius, snapping out of confusion at the right time to give us our third gym badge of the run. Now it was time for a team change. We swap out Numel, who was actually quite useless, for Scavillain, who we can actually use because of its level, and head back towards the water type gym, Cascarafa City. There we decide to evolve our Growlithe into Arcanine with a Firestone found on the floor before heading down to the auction hall to catch up with the water type gym leader and return his wallet. After returning his wallet, he decides to enter us into a bidding war despite the fact we are literally a child, to win some weed. Presented without comment. Now I understand what you're thinking. How on earth are we going to beat the water type gym as a fire type, especially when we have some where he is quad effective against us? The answer is really to all in on Scavillain in this fight. He leads with Veluza and we take it down in 2 shots with a well hit Razor Leaf, which happens to be Scavillain's best move at the time. It's not the move I would choose because of the 5% chance that it doesn't hit, but luckily with the Quick Claw in Scavillain's hands, we take down his first Pokemon in Veluza. The second Pokemon, Voltrio, goes down even easier, but it's really the Crabominable where problems start to arise. The move, he terrestrializes him, and the move Crab Hammer does absolutely insane amounts of damage to eliminate half our team, and we eventually get through by using Crocodile with Yawn and sacrificing him off as a result, as well as sacrificing Arcanine too for him to fall asleep so that we can revive and sub Scavillain straight back in order to eliminate him with Razor Leaf. So all in all, it was much easier than I thought going in, but there's no surprise that you see me saving immediately after, because I do not want to do that again. That Crab Hammer was absolutely destructive. Looking at the map, we're halfway through the Victory Road path now, so I decide let's go and try and defeat another Titan. Needless to say, we are horrendously underleveled, and it was starting to become obvious during the water gym that Scavillain, being our highest level, was the only one most effective to. As you can see here, I realized very quickly that the Great Tusk was not going to be defeated by us. Not only is he ground type, but he also destroyed our only counter to him immediately, which led to me quickly exiting from the game. After our defeat against the Titan, I was starting to realize just how severely underleveled we were. So I made plans to improve on our route up to the normal type gym. I started battling every single trainer we saw, and I found some Tropius nearby to try and get some levels, as well as using Tera raid battles to try and acquire as many XP candies and levels as possible. This resulted in us finally getting the evolution of Crocodile into Skeledirge, as well as the evolution of Carkol into Colossal. That meant that our entire team going into the normal type gym was at full strength. Evolution's completed, it's now time to beat up a kid to get some clues to commit a literal war crime. What happens to those people, I will never know. And meet up with Larry, everyone's favourite KPI obsessed guy. He has a normal type team as we established before. The first of these, Kamala, is very easy. Just have to take a sucker punch and down with Flamethrower. Then it's Dunsparce, who unfortunately almost killed Scarlet with a Hyper Drill, but luckily Flamethrower could come through once again to eliminate. And finally he has a Staraptor, who is a very, very difficult customer. Essentially the game plan here was to heal through Facade, because he used it multiple times while Skeledirge was still unfortunately sleeping from the Kamala, from a move that Kamala used on him. And so we healed all the way through the Facade until Skeledirge decided now is the time to wake up, and using a Flamethrower to eliminate Staraptor and secure us our 5th gym badge. After that it was time to fight Nemona once again, a very, very challenging fight due to a Lycanroc absolutely tearing through our team. In fact, at the end we only had Skeledirge left alive, but he was able to take down Meowscarada. After that it was time to climb the mountain, and we were headed towards the Ice-type gym. The Ice-type gym is actually the last gym you're supposed to take on in the entire challenge. However, I figured that because of our advantage in terms of type, we would be able to take it down easily. This was a mistake. Before I made this fatal error though, I was here catching a Pyroar because I never thought my Litleo was ever going to evolve, given he kept taking a massive L during every single fight we had. Then we had to do the gym challenge where we went skiing before meeting Grusha, the Ice-type gym leader, who is our next one to face. As we said before, she is incredibly over-leveled compared to us, and therefore this made this one of the most difficult fights in the run. But once it was out the way, it was almost plain sailing until the Elite Four. Frostmoth was very easy to take down, being quad weak to fire, but the problems really started after Beartic. Beartic kind of set it up and scared us a little bit with an Earthquake here that took most of Skeledirge's health. However, we were still able to take him down with one shot, and the extra terrestrialized damage was very helpful for that. I wanted to secure that one shot. But the next Pokemon, who I can't really pronounce the name of, but I think it's Satitan? I don't know, but they had Liquidation, and that was bad news for our team. Skeledirge went down with his Tera type, shattering, and this was followed by the defeat of Scovillain. Scovillain I put out to tank one of the Liquidation hits because we were trying to PP stall it out, but it meant that he actually went down to Ice Spinner instead. Eventually, we managed to revive Skeledirge and were constantly PP stalling with healing items until they ran out of PP and used the move that she had just used then, which was Ice Shard. Ice Shard we could tank easily with several hits, and so that allowed Skeledirge to get off several flamethrowers, destroying the Pokemon that I can't pronounce the name of, Satitan, before her final Pokemon came out. Altaria was the final Pokemon to face, and with its Ice-type terrestrialization I was hoping that Skeledirge could get a one-shot with Flamethrower off on it. However, it became clear that Skeledirge was not going to be able to one-shot, and we would need to heal stall through the damage to be able to take it out in 2 hits and claim our 6th gym badge, and by far the hardest one so far. Next up after our Ice victory was to head to the 7th gym in our particular run, the Ghost Gym of Monte Venera. I think that's how you say the name. Now, every time I've gone here, and it's 2 times, in my casual and in this playthrough, I'm not entirely sure what the appropriate way to arrive at the city is. However, each time I've literally just climbed over this exact cliff and fallen straight into their gym. In this gym battle, nothing really notable happened. Here is a dancing dog because it's cute as hell. Other than that, it really was just Pyroar and Skeledirge taking on the world as a double battle, defeating Toxtricity at the end, to give us our 7th gym badge. Next on the list of things to do was to head south for the final gym battle against the Psychic type gym. In the cave on the way there, we managed to find a Houndoom with a Tera type of Ghost. This was going to be critical for us because he knew Destiny Bond, and that would allow us to get out of any situations we didn't want to be in, such as the problem we'd had with the Ice type gym with Titan. Any water type moves, we could get out of there, and that was going to be critical for our run through the Elite Four. Before we can battle the gym though, we had to do our emotional spectrum practice, which I did with Pyro when he looked constipated every single time. After completing that, we were straight into the gym battle. Pyro followed up his constipation by taking out Farigiraf with Crunch, before we swapped into Scarlet for Gardevoir to take her out with Shadow Ball. Houndoom terrestrialized into Shadow type as well to take out Espartha using Shadow Ball as well. And the final Pokemon of her list tested out my strategy for the Elite Four and going forward. She had a Florges, and we used Destiny Bond. Florges then decided to use Moonblast and take both Houndoom out, but also itself out with it, testing my strategy for any more difficult Pokemon going forward. With that, we had completed all 8 gyms in a row, and all that was left was to head to the Elite Four and defeat them and the champion. But in between that and this, I did a lot of leveling, a lot of Terra Raid battles, a lot of wild Pokemon training to bring my team up to speed so that I could do this quiz and fight the Elite Four. First up for my newly high level team was Rika. She uses a ground type team, so it really was a litmus test for how far we'd managed to progress, as that is super effective against fire types. Scavillain now had Seed Bomb due to his leveling up, and that allowed him to start the ball rolling and really carry the team during this section of the run. It started by taking out Wishcash, and then followed up swiftly with Donphan, with Dugtrio, and then finally in 2 hits on Camerupt, tanking 1 in between. The final Pokemon Rika had was Clodsire. Unfortunately, Clodsire didn't go down in 1, and with the Terra type ground type move, took out Scavillain, but luckily Skeledirge was able to get in there for the revenge kill to take out the first Elite Four. Next up was Poppy, and she was in for a world of hurt with her Steel type team. Cooperage went down first, followed by Bronzong. Next up was Pyroar taking out Magnezone, followed by Flare Blitz from Talonflame to eliminate Corviknight, and finally Tinkaton with a Flare Blitz from Talonflame as well. Talonflame really was returning to form and back in the squad because of Tailwind, which we will use later against the champion. Now we had the KPI King's return, Larry. Instead of normal like he is in the gym, his Elite Four is Flying type, but luckily Tropius and Staraptor were no problem for the team to take down. Altaria also was not an issue for Skeledirge, and Oricorio got 1 shot. The real problems arose when we got to his final Pokemon, his ace, Flamigo, but luckily Flamigo, whilst eliminating 4 of our Pokemon, kept dealing damage to itself using Brave Bird, and then eventually recoiled itself to death, meaning we had defeated 3 out of 4 of the Elite Four, and leaving Hassel remaining, the Dragon type Elite Four. Dragon type presented a very big challenge for this team due to the type's relationship with fire. Noivern was very simple to take down, but Dragalga came in and started hydro pumping our Pokemon left, right and centre, leading to the necessity for Houndoom to make a Destiny Bond play to get us out of trouble once again. Comparatively, Haxorus was no problem taken out by a couple of crunches from Pyroar, before Flapple was expertly dealt with by Scavillain, who was on the up and up in this particular Elite Four battle. Unfortunately, Baxcalibur is where it all came crashing down. Glaive Rush was destroying us, and I had to PP stall. Skeledirge was eventually the only Pokemon left on a revive HP, and I had to tank until Icicle Crash was used. And in fact, the stalling came so late that Baxcalibur started using Brick Break and other moves that don't actually affect Skeledirge in order to try and hit, because he had no PP in the rest of his moves. Once we'd stalled out with heals, Shadow Ball took him down, and we had defeated all 4 of the Elite Four. I'd just like to say that the amount of PP and health stalling I had to cut out of this video is actually embarrassing, but I genuinely think it was the only way to get through. This only left the champion remaining. Gita, La Primera, what it had all been building up to, and I have to say that shockingly I was significantly underprepared. I prepared to defeat each typing of the Elite Four and each gym before that, but I had not considered her team at all. Luckily, most of the Pokemon were fine. However, the last Pokemon presented a great difficulty, and this is the only battle I had to repeat twice. Here is the the final battle of the first iteration of this fight. I have left it unedited for your viewing. As you can see, I'm setting up a Destiny Bond play with Houndoom, as I've realised that it's the only chance I have to win. However, I only have one Pokemon left. She also has only one Pokemon left, and her destroying my Pokemon means that she also faints. However, this counts as her win, which I think is an absolute robbery, and at least it should be regarded as a draw. Can't we have half of a champ each? I don't know how it should work. Getting into the real fight, however, Talonflame was up first, back in the squad to use Tailwind to give us a speed advantage before going down as expected to Esparta. Houndoom was then allowed to switch in for free to get off a foul play before we switched to Pyroar for Avalugg due to the speed advantage being so great. Next up, she had Kingambit. Pyroar stayed in, but unfortunately couldn't one-shot and therefore went down to a Stone Edge. But luckily, as so many times during this Elite Four battle, Skeledirge could come in and be clean-up crew. After that, she sent out Veluza, which I subbed in Houndoom again to use foul play. However, once again didn't one-shot, and therefore, with liquidation happening once again, throwback to the water gym, Houndoom once again went down. Luckily, Skeledirge on cleanup crew could Shadow Ball, and the next Pokemon, Go-Goat, being a grass type, would allow us to set up that Houndoom play by reviving both Houndoom and Talonflame to get another Tailwind set up and sub Houndoom in for the final Pokemon. In the meantime, Skeledirge just had to tank a few different hits from Go-Goat, which he did with aplomb before getting, unfortunately, knocked down just right at the end to a Zen Headbutt. This allowed us to bring in the Talonflame to Flare Blitz Go-Goat to finish him off, before following up against her ace, Glimmora, the Pokemon we'd struggled so hard against in the previous run, and use Tailwind to set up. With the Tailwind in tow, I knew we'd definitely have the speed advantage should the Quick Claw not proc on Houndoom. Sludge Wave then takes down Talonflame, who's done an absolutely brilliant job returning to the team, and all Houndoom has to do is get off a Destiny Bond and the Quick Claw procs at the perfect time to make sure we are definitely faster and get the Destiny Bond off. With that, Glimmora uses Tera Blast to eliminate Houndoom, but also eliminate itself, and therefore we have become a champion of the Paldea region. Flannery, the gym leader from Hoenn, Fire-type Pokemon only, the whole way through the run, is a Pokemon champion in the Paldea region. This challenge at times was incredibly easy, particularly at the start, but became very, very difficult due to underleveling and all kinds of different issues throughout the run. Overall though, it was incredibly fun. I had such a great time recording and making this video, and I hope you enjoyed it too. I'm so glad I was able to succeed despite only getting knocked down once by the champion and having to redo the fight. It was incredibly enjoyable, and I hope you enjoyed it too. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please leave a like. Please leave a comment on any improvements you'd like to see or any videos you'd like to see going forward. Whether you'd like me to try different gym types and do this run again with, say, water or grass or different typings, let me know. Otherwise, all I have to say is thank you very much once again. Take care and peace.